Good morning, councillors. It's 10 o'clock. We'd like to start the meeting. Thank you. First of all, welcome to all councillors and officials linked via the Skype link, and also to members of the media and members of the public connected via the live YouTube stream. I now call for a moment's silence. Thank you. Councillors, we'll now proceed to the electronic registration, and I ask you then to click on the link posted in the iron box for this purpose. Kindly register now. We will put the link in throughout the meeting for those that might fall off the platform. And the officials, once they can declare that we have a quorum, we will proceed. Quorum. Thank you. We're going ahead. I now call on the Mayor to address the Council.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can you just confirm that I'm visible and audible? Madam Speaker? Okay. I assume that I'm visible and audible. Madam Speaker, fellow City of Cape Town councillors and team Cape Town officials, members of the public, goeiemorgen, molweni, assalamu alaikum, shalom, good morning to all of you. What an exciting time this is for our country as we mark 30 years of democracy with the conclusion of a national and provincial election that will undoubtedly go down in history as a watershed moment for South Africa, the beginning of an entirely new era for our country. It is not often that we are afforded the opportunity to chart a brand new course for our country. We must cherish the fact that our opportunity came in the form of such an orderly and peaceful election, and that for the most part, the outcome was seen for what it is, a new mandate for a new approach to fixing South Africa and putting South Africa back on a path of growth and shared prosperity to lift people out of poverty and get them into work opportunities. That is the mandate we have been pursuing in the City of Cape, and we hope dearly and sincerely that it is that the new government to be formed soon, Africa will pursue as well. Even though voter turnout was lower than we expected, the citizens of South Africa sent a clear signal for change. And aside from a few parties who are challenging the election results, the results have been widely accepted with maturity and grace. And it is a concern, Madam Speaker, that more and more parties across the world are starting to use the same playbook of refusing to accept the outcomes of elections, whether it be the right wing in America or some of the parties running in South Africa or elsewhere around the world as well. When you have a democratic election and you commit to the Constitution and the democratic process, you've got to stick by that and show confidence and commitment to the system. So we really thank all of those parties who have accepted the results with maturity and grace and who are now trying to work together to build our country instead of break it. This is a very precious opportunity and we dare not waste it. South Africa is in desperate need of a reset. There are just too many struggling and vulnerable South Africans who do not have the luxury of time and who cannot wait another 5 years before the next election cycle before we start to turn things around. We need to get our economy growing and creating jobs at scale, and we need to do that now. We need to overhaul and professionalize our state, and we need to do that now. We need to fix the SAPS and devolve more policing powers to municipal law enforcement officers and metro police officers, and we must do this now so that we can protect communities from the scourge of violent crime. We need to diversify our country's energy mix, and we must do this now so that we can protect households and businesses and put an end to load shedding. We need capable metros to run rail, and we need to see that now so that we can get more people to work safely and affordably around our big cities. None of these things can wait, Madam Speaker and colleagues. And so it's critical that we make the most of this door that is opened for South Africa and walk through it together. Many countries will never get such an opportunity for a reset. So let us pray that level and cool heads remain, and that those with the power in their hands to determine which road we take from here use that power responsibly and in the interest of all of the more than 60 million fellow South Africans to choose a road along which South Africa will improve and start to deal with the many profound problems we have, chief among them poverty and joblessness, and start to build a better country so that in 30 years from now, when we celebrate our 60th anniversary of democracy, we are in a much, much better, more prosperous and stable South Africa. Madam Speaker, while we hope for much more enabling national policy environment that is pro-poor and pro-economic growth, we as the city are not going to wait around in delivering on our pledges. Today, we have yet another final land release for more affordable housing on the council agenda. As every councillor in this meeting knows, the affordable housing landscape in our country has changed considerably over the years, mainly due to cuts in housing grants from the national state. As the national state's finances have got worse and worse, so there has been less spending, not more, on the full range of social spending, whether it be healthcare or education or indeed on state-subsidized housing. Of all the grants that metros receive from the national government, housing and informal settlement upgrading grants are among the most directly pro-poor type of funding, and the worst place to make cuts. Alternatives exist, and it's time we use them. There are so many other ways in which we can save money in our national government and make sure that we protect spending on social spending and on infrastructure spending. I hope that we can take those steps in the weeks and months and years ahead to make sure that more money is directed to local government and to the areas that need it most, like housing, basic services, and infrastructure. National government has consistently over the last few years opted to cut pro-poor grant funding to municipalities and provinces, including 107 million rand slashed from Cape Town's housing grant in this financial year alone. For a metro like Cape Town, these cuts hit particularly hard because our city is growing faster than any other metro, and we either are about to or have already overtaken Johannesburg as South Africa's biggest city by population, with more than 5 million people. So we should rightfully be getting much more grant funding and a bigger share of what is called the equitable share that should take true account of our population size and the number of people in our city living in poverty. We've also done incredibly well at spending our housing grants. Since the start of this term in office, the City of Cape Town has spent 99% of our grants for housing and informal settlements. And we have no intention of slowing down either. As you know from our budget that we passed at our last meeting, over the next 3 years, the city is spending 3.7 billion rand in informal settlement upgrades and on BNG housing, which is the fully subsidized or free form of state-provided housing. This number includes 126 million rand for new taps, 36 million rand for electrification connections, 1 billion rand in upgrades to bulk services and in situ upgrades, service sites, roads, super blocking projects, and 2.5 billion rand for BNG housing. We've also had to change strategy in the face of these ongoing grant cuts, positioning the city as an enabler for much more private sector-led affordable housing delivery. And that includes the release of discounted land for social housing. And it includes all the efforts that we've made over the last 2 years to focus our support for what we call micro developers in townships. And it's really important that all of our councillors from across the political spectrum understand the importance of this shift in strategy. While we will continue to spend 99% or more of all of the grants that we receive, we understand that we will never be able to, not within the current fiscal framework in South Africa, never be able to deliver fully subsidized housing at the rate needed to keep up with demand in our city. So we have to shift our focus to enabling much more private sector-led affordable housing delivery and enabling micro developers to provide affordable housing in townships and less formal areas. And I really think this is one of our biggest success stories to date, and is right at the cutting edge of housing policy in South Africa. Last year alone, we released more than 2,200 social housing units across 7 land parcels under our mayoral priority program. Most of these have been in the Cape Town inner city. Municipal owned properties in central Cape Town that have been released for social housing units to date will yield more than 3,500 units, more than 2,500 of those, as I said, just in the last 2 years. And these include Pine Road, Dillon Lane, Pickwick, Salt River Market, and the now fully tenanted Maitland Mews development. And today I'm thrilled and very, very pleased to announce that we've reached another important milestone in this program. Because on our council agenda today, we have the final release of the New Market Street site in Woodstock, right on the edge of the CBD, right by the train station. And this is an important milestone in our mayoral priority program to release land for affordable housing. You may recall that the original feasibility study for this 10,000 square meter property envisaged 165 social housing units as part of a mixed-use development. However, we can also celebrate that that number has been brought up to 200 units, which will be cross-subsidized by REIT, and more than 300 gap units aimed at first-time buyers and market rental units. This property is in a prime location in Woodstock, close to all of amenities and public transport, and just a few minutes, less than 5 minutes from the CBD. It is the kind of address that will change the lives of the 200 families who will be moving in there once the project is complete. We've also rezoned the New Market Street property in order to speed up the development timeframe following today's release. I can't wait for this development to get underway, because there's no greater joy than seeing such a fundamental positive difference in the lives of Cape Townians. This is what we said we were going to do all the way back in our own manifesto in the 2021 election: speed up land release for affordable housing. And here we are on our 8th or 9th or 10th piece of land now going out to the market, and we can really celebrate this progress. I also have to mention here that one of the reasons why we are able to increase the yield of social housing units on these parcels is because of the guidelines that we have adopted in this council just over a year ago. These guidelines set out exactly how the city is going to discount the land that we release to social housing partners and private developers to allow for more affordable housing. And indeed, you will see that today's land parcel is steeply discounted. Thanks to these transparent and clear guidelines, which we have adopted together as council, the market now knows exactly what they can expect. And it is clear that our intent with this land release program is explicitly and clearly to maximize the number of affordable housing units on the property, not to maximize the value of the land sale for the city. And now we can make these decisions transparently, legally, constitutionally, and the market and prospective residents and tenants can see the effort that we are making to speed up the delivery of affordable housing. I really believe the model that we are building here is the future of affordable housing in South Africa, where the state plays more of an enabling role by discounting land, providing bulk services, and allowing and encouraging and stimulating the private sector to deliver the housing units at a much faster pace than the state is able to do. And so far, it is working well here. We have provided over 6,500 social housing units at various stages of the planning pipeline across the city. These units are really game changer units for qualifying families who earn less than 22,000 Rand a month. We know that the demand for affordable housing in that category is almost insatiable in Cape Town. And so we really want to try and help facilitate much more of this investment in our city. Built on well-located land close to the city center or other business nodes, these kind of affordable housing units place lower-income Cape Townians right on the doorstep of opportunities, jobs, schools, and other services. So when we speak about building a city of hope, this is precisely what hope looks like, Madam Speaker. The realistic expectation that your future will be better than your present, and that your children will be in a better position to realize their own dreams and the dreams that you have for them. Affordable, well-located social housing is arguably the most impactful way to change lives and bring hope. And we must do all we can to accelerate these programs. My hope is that this new chapter for our country will bring positive changes in the affordable housing space too, with the realization that sufficient housing subsidies to capable metros, enough to stimulate housing delivery at pace and scale, is just about the most progressive and pro-poor way to spend your budget. And that is what we are demonstrating here in the city of Cape Town. I also hope that these new winds of national change will blow in a fresh urgency into the release of some of the mega properties owned by national government in our metro. We estimate that around 100,000 social housing opportunities are possible at sites such as Wingsfield, Youngsfield, Easterplaat, and the Acacia Parliamentary Village. So I urge those tasked with these decisions in the months and years ahead to come and visit some of Cape Town's social housing success stories, such as Maitland Mews or the major Conradi Park development in Pinelands, which has been a successful collaboration between ourselves and the provincial government and private development partners. What they will find there are not just beautiful homes, although of course they will find those, thoughtfully designed and well built, but they will find the beginnings of a working model of a much faster and more successful means of affordable housing delivery in South Africa that need not only apply here, but can apply throughout our country. So I'm delighted that today we can set the ball rolling on Newmarket Street in Woodstock to bring this kind of hope and opportunity to another 200 Cape Town families and more. That is why today is a good day here in Cape Town in our city of hope. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, you may now ask questions in terms of Rule 11.2, and the following parties have an opportunity: the DA, Good, UDM, UIM, and the Freedom Front Plus. So we'll start with Councillor Carmen Siebrits from the DA.
Good morning, Speaker. Thank you. Mayor, well done to you and the team in releasing all these land parcels for housing. I look forward to seeing all the new housing projects being constructed in the coming months, which will enhance the Cape Town urban landscape. Contrary to this, I have noticed that there are numerous buildings around that are derelict and problematic. These buildings dampen our city's urban landscape. Given this, what specific measures are being implemented by the city to address the issues of derelict and problematic properties in the city? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much to Councillor Siebrits for that important question. Councillor, the problem of problem buildings is a very, very tricky one, because the legal framework that allows the city to take action is extremely complex and convoluted and takes a very, very long time to work through. It starts with our law enforcement officers issuing a notice of compliance to building owners that they need to fix up their property or take some responsibility for it. If after several of those notices there is no compliance, then the building is declared a problem building officially in terms of our bylaw. thereafter, it can go onto it gets fined, and that fine gets uploaded to the owner's rates account. But very often, those fines are not paid because the owner doesn't care about the property and has either abandoned it or hasn't the means to invest in it, or in many cases has passed away, which adds another layer of complexity through the estate. And so it's very, very hard for us to do it. But as you know, we're not afraid of tackling hard things here. So I have a meeting every single a regular meeting. In fact, the next one is tomorrow. I'm just having a look at my diary, and we go through a list, literally one by one, of the worst problem buildings in the city, and we make sure that each of them are steadily moving through the legal system until such time as we get either results in that the problem building is cleaned up, or we eventually get through to using the full gamut of legal means available to us, including eventually sale and execution of the property. One of the particular problems that we have is with state-owned buildings. And I must say here, there have been a few examples of city-owned buildings, and our regular meetings, those regular meetings that I spoke of, also include the executive directors of city directorates and MACO members of city directorates who have to sort out their buildings. And most of those have been sorted out, with one or two exceptions which are still on our agenda of that meeting. But by far the biggest problem, by far and away, by many multiples, is the state-owned buildings. And I look at one right outside my window here, the station deck, which is in very, very poor condition. But I will say, to their credit, since we have gone through this process, and that this building has often been number one on our agenda on those meetings, you will see that there have been efforts by PRASA to clean up the station deck and to evict the many vagrants that were living in it and setting fires in it and stripping metal out of it, and they have bricked up most of the building and so on. So it shows that we are at least getting some movement, and so too at some other state-owned buildings around the city. Where we have not got any movement yet, and particularly, I must name and shame, where buildings are owned by the National Department of Public Works, it is very hard to get any answer. Then we have taken the approach of actually publicly naming and shaming, where you may have seen, Councillor Siebrits, that we have put up very large, very bright, very visible, in-your-face signs on those buildings to show who the owner is and to show that they have been declared a problem building. And this helps in a number of ways, because it helps the public to understand that these buildings are not owned by the city, and the city cannot by ourselves take them over, and that the city is not allowing them to just sit there and rot, that the city is actually doing something, that we have declared them problem buildings and we are going through the lengthy legal process. So you will see more of those signs going around the city. The first iteration of those signs were a very sticky stick-on sign. Those were, I suppose, unsurprisingly pulled off by some of the illegal occupants of those buildings rather quickly. So we are now moving to the second iteration of those signs, which will be actually physical, drilled in billboards on the sides of those buildings, as we are allowed to do. So thank you very much for that question, Councillor Siebrits. I hope that helps answer. I know why you've asked it. There are a number of these problem buildings in the Wynberg area, and I assure you that the efforts of the city to try and enforce accountability for those owners is absolutely top of our agenda in those regular meetings, which you are very welcome to attend if you wish.
Thank you. Councillor Bengi. Councillor Bengi, are you there? All right. right, we'll just give him a little bit longer.
Hear me now, Speaker?
Yes, I can hear you. Proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Mayor, jobs creation is a very important, and I'm sure we all agree with that. Now, Mr. Speaker, just today and previous speeches alluded about the jobs, and we need more jobs and stuff like that. We need more boots. We need more policing and stuff like that. And I just want to ask you, Mr. Mayor, about this jobs, and we are worried, Mr. Speaker, ngento edibene ne-call center. Just tell us, tell this councillor sitting in our mayor about the how many jobs that were created and how many temporary jobs, and when those temporary jobs were expired. And Kosi, speak.
Very much, Mr. Mayor.
In the call center industry, the question was very unspecific. Can you just ask your specific question, please?
Yes, correct. Speak, Mayor. In a call center industry.
Okay, thank you very much. The call center industry is absolutely booming in Cape Town. It is becoming the unparalleled capital of call centers in South Africa. We still have a long way to grow. For example, there are more than 2 million people in the Philippines who work in the call center industry. A similar number in India. In South Africa, it's only a few tens of thousands of people that work. So we've got a long way to grow still. We are a great location for call centers, and there are more and more call centers from around the world moving here. And many of them are choosing Cape Town. And part of the reason it is very difficult to find any open office space of any size in Cape Town, if you are looking for a 1,000 square meter office space to rent in Cape Town today, you will not find it because the call center industry has taken so much of the available office space in the city because it is growing so rapidly. So the call center industry is a wonderful industry for helping with unemployment as well, because you don't have to have a post-matric graduation qualification to get a job in the call center industry. You have to have matric, but once you have matric, you can go and you can do a 2 or a 3 week training course that the city supports via Cape BPO, which is an organization that we support as the city. And they facilitate a great deal of this training. And with that training course, you can get a job in the call center industry. The starting pay is quite good. It's well above minimum wage, and you can build a big and long career trajectory in the call center industry. So we are thrilled that there are so many coming here. I know that later this month or early next month, I think Alderman Force will have the details. We are celebrating the 10,000 mark, where we have, yes, exactly, yeah. He's just posted it in the box. Thank you very much, Alderman. We are celebrating the 10,000 mark of new call center jobs in the last year alone. So this is wonderful progress. The acceleration is quite extraordinary. And I think what's most important, I'll end with this, Councillor Benga, is that it's not all in the CBD. We've got call centers in Athlone. We've got call centers in Belleville. We've got call centers in Maitland. We've got call centers in Mitchell's Plain. We've got hundreds of call center jobs in Mitchell's Plain CBD. So that is wonderful. And I think Councillor Cupido has tried to re-ask your question again. Councillor Cupido, I think the question is well answered. There are 90,000 Cape Townians working in the BPO sector, 10,000 alone this year. And most of those are permanent jobs. As I said, the uptake rate of new jobs in this sector and people building very worthwhile, meaningful careers in this sector is excellent. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mukungwana.
Thank you, Speaker. Let me first welcome the Mayor's speech with the positives that he has told us today. Mr. Mayor, I've listened to your speech, and you carried a very big hope, and you've given us hope for as citizens of the city of Cape Town. But I didn't hear you mentioning, Mayor, what steps have we as the city taken to prevent what happened in parts of the Western Cape, the Eastern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal, as we are entering the heavy rainy season, and we might be faced with what we were faced with last year in terms of flooding and loss of life. So can you then share with us what the administration has in place to prevent that from happening? And taking into consideration that in the past week, there has been heavy rains where people had to stand in the queues. And you might know by now that I'm passionate about those people who are queuing in taxis with no cover, in taxi lines waiting for taxis with no covers. What are the provisions for those people? Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Councillor Makongwana, I appreciate your question. You have raised this before as well, and I agree with you that it's certainly far from ideal that people queue in winter outdoors. The city has a program of PTI upgrades around the city, and I've spoken with the urban mobility department around some of the delays in those PTI upgrades, which need to be resolved so that we can actually deliver on those upgrades right around the city. And so, again, I would just ask that you touch base with Councillor Quintus directly about the areas that you think specifically need some shelter. And I'm sure that if it is within their means to do so, that they will prioritize those areas. And I think we can all agree that if it's possible to deliver shelter, we should do so. I don't know if Councillor Quintus wants to add something to that.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was just waiting to be unmuted. Mayor, we will certainly look into the details. If that can be emailed to me and through my office, we will interrogate and see where possible and if possible to assist with that. No problem at all, sir.
Thank you. Councillor De Beer.
Madam Speaker, very good morning. Mr. Mayor, good morning to you and the colleagues, and good to see us settling and back. Mr. Mayor, the question I'd like to ask is one that we have fought for in this year and the build-up to last year, but seems that we now are at a point where this can no longer be debated, but must be pushed for on any matter. In the recent past week, again, Mr. Mayor, the city of Cape Town suffered another crime spree, and several people, undoubtedly, now being callously murdered in the Khayelitsha area. Mr. Mayor, what is more shocking, but will not be a surprise to us, and which I hope will never become a matter that we accept as normal, is also the death of children under this massive tragedy of fire and crime. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask, how, when, and where can the final push for devolution of powers to this city's law enforcement happen? Because it is undisputedly now time that we step in, as we have said and you have pushed for. But I think it is now time that we must cross that Rubicon and make it happen no matter what consequence or ramification comes from national. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor De Beer, thank you for that question, and thanks for bringing up just the most horrific crime that took place this week. It has really hit me very hard. I think all of us who are parents, particularly of young girls, because of that tiny, beautiful little Enzo Kuchlu, Dladlu, 4 years old, who was murdered in Khayelitsha simply because she was at a barber shop where all indications are a local extortion gang was trying to extort money from a barber shop who was not paying. And so someone arrived and opened fire on the customers at that barber shop, never mind the fact that they were 4, 8, and 10 years old, and one 30-year-old, 33-year-old man, I think. A crime just so depraved and outrageous and cruel that it really actually, it's hard to comprehend how someone could do that simply to send a message to business owners in the area, to brazenly such depravity, kill children, to send a message. It's actually hard to get one's mind around that kind of evil. So, I'm thrilled to hear that the SAPS has yesterday arrested 2 young men, 25-year-old and a 23-year-old, I think, in connection with this crime. They haven't appeared in court yet. I think they're appearing today, so we're not sure what evidence the state has against them, but hopefully these are the perpetrators. And we have pledged our full support, whatever we can do through our SSIU, to help with this case, because it has just sent such an awful shockwave through all decent people who must all together, all of us, be absolutely appalled and ashamed that this can happen in our society. As to your broader point around devolution, I could not agree more. I hope that you will have seen the document guiding the discussions of the so-called GNU, and I hope you will have seen a certain few bullet points that undoubtedly came from the city of Cape Town. And one of those was the devolution of investigative powers to the city of Cape Town, well, to metros, to metro law enforcement and metro police officers. And I sincerely hope that makes it into the agenda of the new government, and that it happens, as you say, that day finally arrives. There's no panacea for crime in South Africa, Councillor De Beer, as you know. There's no silver bullets. There's a number of interventions that need to take place to restore professionalism in our police service and restore capacity, restore numbers, and a number of other interventions as well, including the most important one is to just get a growing, prospering economy that lifts all boats and provides better income and better options and a better social circumstance for millions of families around the country. But one of the things that will make a positive difference in the right direction is to allow Metro Police and law enforcement to prepare investigation dockets for prosecution and help the SAPS to overcome the enormous burden of investigation that is where so many thousands of cases fall flat. So hopefully this is top of agenda for the new government.
Thank you, Councillor Jacobson.
Morning, Speaker. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You may proceed.
I started. Honourable Mayor, I must apologise. I started late due to some ailment I have here. Honourable Mayor, in the spirit that we hope that our political arena will end up, are we able as a council and council members to work properly in unity without being offensive to our fellow councillors, so that we can do what we are employed to do, and that is to uplift and assist our Western Cape residents and ratepayers. My plea in the form of a question is, can we stay away from harmful and hurtful labeling of people that are offensive, calling people stupid or chihuahuas, in good spirit, so that we can work together as a unified city for what we're employed to do. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
Councillor, I'm not sure that there was a question directed to me there. I don't think that I've ever referred to anyone in those terms in council. But I think the South African politics is entering a period of new maturity, where you have to really consider the position of your political opponents and those who have disagreed with profoundly for many, many years, and find a way to work together in the interest of the public, not because you agree together on everything, but because you believe in the really big and important thing, which is that South Africa is a constitutional democracy, and that we do not want to go down the road of scrapping the constitution, which is an actual electoral promise of one of the parties who stood for election and got a significant number of votes in our country, by the way, and other parties who want to reintroduce kind of 1970s, 1980s Soviet economics and take our country down some very fringe and experimental economic ideas that will lead to much greater poverty and economic destruction, even greater than that which we already have. So despite all of the many disagreements that we have, and they are legion and manifold, we should find a way to work together in a respectful way to stop South Africa going down that path of destruction, and make sure that it goes up along the pathway, climbing up the steep and difficult path of growing the economy, getting more people into the economy and out of poverty, and building a more respectful and more mature democracy. So to the extent that applies here, of course we must all play our part.
Thank you very much. That concludes that section of the agenda. We move to applications for leave of absence. Madam Chief Whip.
Good morning, Speaker. The apologies for this morning are as follows. Councillors Mpengezi, Badela, Van der Ross, Majingo, McMahon, Jackson, Pahia, Van Nelson, and councillors on sick leaves are councillors Mukuchwana and Councillor Breinhardt. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Are there any other applications for leave from parties that have not been registered yet with the Chief Whip? Just indicate in the iron box.
Speaker.
Councillor Haynes.
Good morning, Speaker. Good morning, everybody. Just to one correction, Councillor Pahia is in the meeting. I think his leave will start after this meeting, and then that's that. And then I have forwarded the resignation of Councillor Makasi to your office early this morning. So she is one of our fortunate ones that have made it to Parliament. So her resignation has been submitted. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you for that. All right, Councillor Cupido. We take note, Councillor Breinhardt, that you're present. Councillor Cupido.
Speaker, sorry, I was struggling to unmute. Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, Councillor Van Nelson is also part-time, so he'll be leaving at 12. And he's not on full leave, so he's in the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillors, we have 204 councillors present and 22 absent. I'm going to read the parties' numbers, and you can correct it in the iron box if there's a share of computers. For the ANC, we have 35. For the DA, we have 124. For ARO, we have 2. For the ACDP, we have 4. For AIC, we have 1. Al-Jamar, 3. CCC, 5. Cape Exit, 2. CMC 1, DI 1, EFF 9, Freedom Front Plus 3, Good 8, the PA 3, PAC 1, UDM 1, UIM 1. So that gives us a total of 204. Thank you. We'll now proceed and we will use those numbers in terms of the voting. Councillors, I just want to say that the declaration of interests, there are some that are still outstanding. If these are still outstanding in the next meeting, I will read out the names. So please make sure that officials are there to help you if you don't, if you have difficulty, but they do need to get in by the end of this month. Then second, councillors, given a previous decision at the earlier programming meeting, committee meetings for scheduled for the 13th and the 14th of June were cancelled. It is recommended that council therefore commences its winter recess as from the closure of this meeting today until 8 a.m. on Monday, the 8th of July, 2024. As a means to enable the exercising of recess powers by the Executive Mayor in terms of Delegation 11.6, I require your agreement with this above proposal. Are we all in agreement? If I don't have any comments in the iron box, thank you. There is one appeals committee meeting which will go ahead because statutorily there's a time requirement that we need to meet. All right, thank you very much. Then we move on to official notices from the City Manager. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything?
None, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Section 6, the confirmation of the minutes. There are two sets of minutes for confirmation for the ordinary meeting held on the 25th of April and then also for the special budget meeting. So we'll start with the minutes of the 25th, page 5. I presume you've all read them. Can we confirm those minutes for sign-off? Okay. If there's no objections, then we will sign those minutes. And then the second meeting, which is the special budget meeting for the 31st of May, starting on page 47. Can we confirm these minutes, please? Councillor Dambuza.
Greetings, Speaker, and the whole council at large. Thank you very much. The minutes have indicated that there are 5 councillors of the EFF who have not attended without an apology. Want to set the record straight that the councillors' apology is submitted or has been submitted. Sorry for the incorrect English.
No, that's fine. We will correct that. We will just check with the record. I do recall that. Thank you very much. If there's no other correction, can we move the minutes for confirmation? Thank you. We then move on to the remainder of the agenda. So the whips have agreed on the following items. Item 5, item 7, item 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and item 17. In volume 2B, items 18, 22, and 23. In volume 2C, items 24 through to 32. In volume 2D, item 33, 34, 35, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 44A, and 44B. Councillor Dambuza, are you wishing to speak again? Can I just conclude this and then I will come to you? In volume 3, which is items 45, 46, 48, and 49. And in volume 4, items 56, 57, 59, 60, 61, 62, and 63 are all for noting. So are there any parties who wish to raise comments in this regard to the above agreed items? Councillor Dambuza.
Thanks again, Speaker. The EFF wants to note that a submission will be done for items that we don't agree on, but are not speaking on those items. Also, I want to put it into your attention that when you indicated that there's 9 councillors of the EFF, it's actually 10 with Councillor Derman sharing currently because he's struggling with his own device. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We will correct the attendance register. Councillor Mokungwana.
Speaker, with your permission, can I request that I be removed from speaking on item 54 and use that minute to add on my speaking time on item 16?
Thank you. The whip will adjust that. All right. Can we then move on to the remainder of the agenda, commencing with volume 2A, and we move then to item 6. And the first speaker on this item is Councillor Makwina.
Good morning, Speaker. This good intended program that services people living with disabilities dismally executed or implemented by the DA-led City of Cape Town, as they have no clear implementation plan to curb and address the challenges often raised by the commuters of this service, not being reliable by being late on a daily basis, which speaks to the DA-led city's failure to monitor the service. Speaker, there are no fundamental reasons as to why we should engage in a contract exceeding 3 years, apart from enabling the DA to continue with its body enriching scheme. Will not secure any significant capital investment or derive economic or financial benefit from this, and this clearly stipulates and lays bare on the reasoning for the this is clearly stipulated and laid bare on the reasoning for the city to enter in this contract, like saying capital cost on the core fleet will be lower if depreciated over 72 months. This clearly has no benefit to the City of Cape Town and commuters, but will only benefit DA's bodies in HG travel services. And they say that onerous for the city to put out a tender every 3 years. The city officials are lazy to do their job and what they are paid to do. This is like the IEC saying it's a tedious process for them to hold local and national elections 2.5 years apart. Elections where the DA fraudulently benefits by using the Zionist FBI to cook numbers when they are clearly rejected by the people of South Africa. They went into hibernation during a campaign because of their shameful pro-Zionist posture.
Thank you. Conclude.
Supporting the brutal killing of...
Councillor Quintus, please. Councillor Quintus. Councillor Quintus not available. All right, thank you. We move the recommendation. We're moving the recommendation on page 286. Those in favor of the recommendation and those against, please put your comment in the iron box. Thank you. The recommendation is carried. Item 16. The first speaker on that item is Councillor Mukungwana. Is that not the one he wants to speak?
Because, sorry, I was having difficulties here in the office and
We've
tried to connect Dirk, Linda.
Councillor Quintus, we've concluded the vote on that item. I'm sorry. But we have to move on. The first speaker on item 16 is Councillor Mukungwana. Councillor, are you speaking to this item?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Continue.
Speaker, thank you. The United Democratic Movement welcomes the move taken by the city and SEPS in agreeing on sharing a building in Browns Farm, which will help and assist in alleviating or bringing crime down and making it easy for SEPS to patrol the streets of Browns Farm, which is a crime hub. And the UDM would like to also call on the administration, the city's administration, to do the same and implement the same approach with regard to the people of Site C, Driftsens, Bongweni, Kwezi, and Mandalay, because they have been faced with serious violent crimes for the past 10 years without a police station. And those people are yearning for assistance. This also must go to the people of Mfuleni and Delft, because those areas are also crime hubs, and the police stations there are overburdened by the crime statistics that are happening there in that area. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. The second speaker is Councillor Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, as seen in many parts of the world where crime was significantly reduced, a functional collaborative approach is required. This is why the ACDP supports this initiative, because its sole purpose is, of course, to fight crime. In fact, Speaker, it would be foolish for anyone to oppose an initiative that seeks to create crime-free environments for our communities. The ACDP also applauds the Directorate for recognizing the value of collaborating with stakeholders in the safety and security environment for purposes of addressing the prevailing and increasing levels of crime and disorder faced by City of Cape Town residents on a daily basis. Now, unfortunately, the City of Cape Town is still faced with instances where departments are unable to provide community programs and recreational services to communities due to safety concerns of its staff. In this case, of course, we are referring to the community of Philippi and the surrounding areas. Now, the ACDP acknowledges the steps taken by the city in its choosing not to play the blame game, but instead consult with SAPS to provide safety solutions. And this is, of course, where SAPS raised its main challenge in combating crime in this specific area. It's that its officers are being delayed in attending to incidents because they do not have officers in close proximity of the Philippi community. So, Speaker, the ACDP supports the recommendation that the city enters into this partnership, where SAPS will, of course, provide this very needed service point to the local community of Browns Farm in Philippi. Of course, this will also provide safer working conditions for staff and provide increased police patrolling and potentially cost the city and save the city costs with regards to security. Further to the Speaker, we also support the fact that Browns Farm has been selected as the pilot project, because we know that Browns Farm could be the catalyst for future sites leading to safer communities where departments are then able to roll out and provide the community programs and recreational services, because we know that this is where the real address needs to take place. To address these social ills, it will always remain the root to our crime problem in South Africa, in the Western Cape, and in Cape Town. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Gadini.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good morning to all the councillors. Madam Speaker, as this report, it's a report that we've championed since 2021 in advocating for a satellite police station to be placed at Browns Farm. It's unfortunate that it took this long, that it resulted in the facility itself being vandalized and cost an amount of 8 million rands that for the city officials to realize the proposed initiative, which was proposed in 2021 by the sub-council, was well thoughtful and is what was needed. We approved this as the sub-council in September 2023 with the process where police station could be based. And there were 3 Fs that were provided to the office of the mayor, which was 2697 in Kunzane Street, 2936 in Nwebeba Street, and 1663 in Sakwiki Street, where we are advocating for the city to give this land to subs or public works to be able to build a fully fledged police station for the community of Philippi, so that we can start seeing the crime being reduced, that the people of Philippi can start reaping the rewards of fighting crime and having a fully fledged police station in their own backyard. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Woodman.
Good morning. Thank you, colleagues and Madam Speaker, and thanks to our opposition for supporting this. I place before you the item C16-0624, and the purpose of this report is to enter into a cooperation agreement with the South African Police SAPS for Browns Farm Irv 956 Philippi, an authority for the Executive Director, Community Services and Health, to conclude similar agreements to improve safety at facilities. The application was circulated to relevant line departments and no objections was received. The subject property will be used by an organ of state, hence public participation was not applicable. Factors motivating the recommendation is services to the community, faster dispatch time by SAPS to respond to any incidents and to strengthen partnerships with communities. The Department of Recreation and Parks is responsible for providing recreational services to our community. However, due to crime in the Philippi area, are unable to provide such services due to safety concerns of staff and patrons. It was recommended that the city enters into a partnership where SAPS will provide a service point, a satellite office, to local community of Browns Farm, Philippi, due to the vast amount of crime in the Philippi area. And one of the many challenges faced by SAPS was that there was a delay in attending to incidents swiftly due to not having officers in close proximity to the community. Madam Speaker, this is a true demonstration of a government of national unity witnessed in the city of Cape Town, led by the Democratic Alliance municipality, in line with the DA's principles, the right of all people to protection by the state from crime and violence. This demonstrates a bold decision that underscores the prioritization of law enforcement infrastructure to better serve the community of Philippi, in particular with increased police presence through strategic policing initiatives and potentially reduced crime rate in Philippi. Only a DA-led city of Cape Town is able to extend a helping hand to the national government and say, we are here to assist you. The property transaction has been in the making for some time, and I'm happy to witness SAPS access being granted immediately at no cost, as stated in the report. With the outcome of the national government elections 2024, it is once again proven that we, the Democratic Alliance, will rescue South Africa, attend to the safety of our communities, and strengthen partnerships to build a safer South Africa and further devolve the policing powers closer to the people. Madam Speaker, I therefore move the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. The recommendation is therefore carried. Is there anyone against the recommendation? Thank you. Then we move on to item 19 on volume 2B. And the speakers for that item would first be Councillor Buta Rousseau.
Good morning, Speaker, Maya, and colleagues in the House. Speaker, FF Plus know the submission of Sub-Council 1 to repeal the Gazette of December 2015, where Rivergate and Wolverine were excluded. And we know the addition of the mentioned informal trading sites in size 3 by 6 meter to be included. What concerns Freedom Front Plus is the fact that the trading sites sites on the corner of Otto du Plessis and Melkbosstrand Road are underutilized. Currently, 2 traders sell handmade furniture at the site and occupy the whole site. It is a popular site and residents from all over Cape Town buy furniture from the traders, but it is still underutilized if you look at how many bays there are. My concern is how will all Ward 23 informal trading sites be marketed to really benefit informal traders and made that popular and well known as the informal trading, to be like the informal trading site in Baden Island, because this trading site is bread and butter for people who really need that in their households. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Gungwe.
Speaker. Good morning, Speaker. Good morning, councillors.
Good morning. Continue.
Officials, media. It is with great pleasure, Speaker, to speak in a council meeting after elections where people have shown their will that the ANC must lead in the next 5 years, whether we receive 51% or not. But as the ANC will show maturity that in this government of national unity will always lead and give direction as we always do as the ANC, and the other political parties will follow as they know that they are not able to do anything without the African National Congress. Speaker, in terms of Section 6A of the Businesses Act sets out a detailed process that the municipality must follow in order to legally restrict or prohibit informal trading in an area. The municipality must facilitate and promote inclusive transformative paradigm in order to build a cohesive and more unequal society, which is underpinned by growing and inclusive economy that harnesses the potential of all people in Cape Town, especially those South Africans who were previously denied opportunities based on the color of their skin. All informal trading places of Ward 23, they should be zoned and given opportunities to all those who live in Ward 23. And the city must not be selective in how it does its own process of zoning this informal trading and try and exclude those who were previously disadvantaged in the process. So therefore, Speaker, we are supporting the item and supporting the move that the council must adopt this informal trading. To say that, Speaker,
Councillor, you need to conclude.
In conclusion, Speaker, I want to say that
you need to conclude.
Yes, in conclusion, Speaker, I want to say, Speaker,
Councillor Swart.
South Africa.
Councillor Swart.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Good morning and good morning, colleagues. Let me just firstly deal with Councillor Botha-Rousseau's remarks. She's quite right. We are concerned about the uptake, in particular that informal trading area, and the department's at the moment busy with invitations and public participation to get more vendors there. And I also referred some people to Mrs. Alexander. But regarding the item itself, Madam Speaker, as a caring city, one of our highest priorities is to look after our most vulnerable residents. And there I agree with my ANC colleague. Not only to provide social assistance and basic services, but also to provide them with economic opportunities. And this matter, our Economic Development Department plays a pivotal role. My thanks go to Alderman Vos and his department for the continuous and dedicated work they do to empower our residents in this regard, in particular those in need of assistance. In this regard, the city's informal trading policy is an important tool to provide such economic opportunities for the vulnerable, and the item before us is exactly aimed at that. Not only to expand on such opportunities in Ward 23, but also to bring into the fold one of the most vulnerable communities in our city. The revision of the Ward 23 informal trading plan before us today with the current plan proclaimed as way back as 2015 will increase the number of available trading bays and opportunities from 14 to 29, more than 100% increase. It will also very importantly bring these opportunities to the Wolverrivier informal settlement with 10 new such bays. Madam Speaker, Wolverrivier is situated along the R304 and is 13 kilometers away from the Noon and 8 kilometers away from Melkbosstrand, the closest business areas. There is no formal taxi route, no other available public transport, only some infrequent informal taxis servicing the area. It cost a Wolverrivier resident 37 rand to get to the Noon just to be able to buy bread or milk, with no formal businesses or economic opportunities in the settlement. This is clearly untenable in an area with endemic unemployment and dire poverty. But the plan before us today now makes provision for 10 trading bays in that settlement, which to some extent will address this dire need. In this way, a number of the original beneficiaries moved to Wolverrivier will have the opportunity to engage in trading activities and enter the much needed economic environment. They are eagerly awaiting this opportunity. We hope to, over time, with water allocations and business donations, of which we already secured some, to develop this area into a proper business hub for the residents. Madam Speaker, the other areas in plan before us will also make available 2 bays in the newly developed Riverside area and increase the number of bays in Melkbosstrand by a further 3. Whilst ablution facilities will not be a problem in Wolverrivier with local traders within walking distance from their houses, the trading area in Melkbosstrand along Otto du Plessis Road, the one my colleague from the Freedom Front Plus referred to, remains a challenge, and we will still seek a solution as to that. In conclusion, I want to thank all the relevant officials, in particular Director Pretorius from Informal Settlements, making this area in Wolverrivier available, and Mrs. Shirley Alexander for her actions to make this a reality, as well as all the others involved, indicating our care for our most vulnerable. It is much appreciated. Madam Speaker, I move this item, the proposed revision of the Ward 23 Informal Trading Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. The recommendations are on pages 13 and 14. Can we move adoption of the recommendation? Thank you. That takes us to item 20, and the first speaker on item 20 is Councillor Jacobson.
Morning, Honourable Speaker and fellow council members. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Peter van Vuren into council. He may not be as colourful as Mr. Max, but he is a proper administrator, and I believe he's going to be a huge asset to our council members. So I welcome Peter into this warm home. As you know, I have been a vendor in the informal trading sector for almost 30 years, from beaches to Table Mountain to Ratanga Junction, food trucks, stadia. And I can tell you that the informal trading sector, especially for futuristic Belleville, is going to be incredibly important. It all starts in the informal trading sector, and then people move eventually through into the formal sector. That is the mission, I believe, of informal trading. However, we must just also, and that those that have been successful in their application to trade informally, we need some sort of law and order. We need to make sure through law enforcement that the person designated to that site is in fact that person, and it hasn't been pawned off elsewhere, and that the traders trade within their designated site, and also that they trade within the correct product that they applied for. I also would like to just err on the side of caution. I know that the beach trading informal sector falls under a different department, but there we still had racially hyped application in favor of one's race. And I know through Alderman Force and Alderman Justice, we are trying to really fight for traders to trade on their merit and through their application of the unique product that they're offering. So Belleville needs us, and I hope that the community of Belleville and elsewhere accept that this is the way to go to build a futuristic city, Belleville, and extend widely into the metro. So we must not show resistance to informal trading. We must offer them respect and dignity as others do worldwide, just to mention a country like India, which embraces informal trading properly. I thank you for your indulgence, Honourable Speaker, and my fellow city members.
Thank you. I see the Mayor wishes to comment on this matter. Mr. Mayor, do you want to speak now or at the end of the debate?
No, ma'am, at the end of the debate.
Thank you. Councillor Cotti.
Good morning, Speaker. Can you hear me?
Yes, carry on. Thank you.
Good morning, Speaker, Mayor, councillors, officials. Good morning. Speaker, we agree, as ANC, we agree on this item, but we want to raise serious concerns in terms of the Belleville trading plan. And I must say that it was shocking to see the state of the Belleville CBD when I visited the area the day before. Our concern there, Speaker, is there's no toilet facilities, there's no refuge facilities for the traders. And I think when I was still in that sub-council a few years ago, Speaker, there was talk about incorporating the PRASA line, the bus, the taxis, the long-distance taxis, and also the CBD into one component. But the state of affairs within the Belleville, as we speak, there is quite sad to see. There is, for example, in Criscal Road, there is no street there, Speaker. There's a few paving areas in front of Kentucky. But I also want to agree with the previous speaker. We need proper law enforcement in that facility or in that precinct. We do have the Belleville Voortrekker corridor sit there. We also have the Greater Tygerberg Partnership that's also assisting us as the city in dealing with some of the issues. But in general, Speaker, the situation is quite bad in the Belleville CBD. And I'm not too sure how the trading plan for a start will assist us, but with all the services that the city is providing, particularly those security services and law enforcement, we need proper administration of these bays there. And also, Speaker, the situation where people are getting robbed on a daily basis, there's no walking spaces for patrons to walk even on the pavements. So we support the item, but we need to have this, not only support for the item, but also need a proper hands-on approach on this. Speaker, in conclusion, I just want to say to our member of parliament that from the ANC side, it's going to parliament, Councillor Makasi. Also,
thank you.
We so well. Thank you very much.
Councillor Kleinschmidt.
Thank you, Speaker. I hear what the two non-existing councillors are saying. They're non-existent in Belleville. And yes, we've got things in place. We have ablution facilities. If they were involved, they would have known. Speaker, this council approved the local spatial development framework for the Belleville Central Business District at its meeting in December last year. The LSDF provides guidance on detailed local planning, urban management interventions, and public infrastructure investment to unlock development opportunities of Belleville CBD. This followed a 2-month open days to help us refine the local spatial development framework. One of the most important aspects of the LSDF is how it focuses on transforming the local economy of Belleville to improve livelihoods and quality of life for those living and working in Belleville. Informal trading is a very important part of Cape Town's economy and offers good employment opportunities for traders as well as affordable goods and services to locals. The informal sector is the 5th largest employment sector in Cape Town. The item seeks to support the informal traders in Belleville by the creation of an enhanced trading environment for the benefit of traders and commuters. There are currently 242 active trading bays in Belleville. The revised draft informal trading plan consists of 152 new trading bays. The DA therefore supports and moves the adoption of the revised informal trading plan for Belleville as indicated in item 20 of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No, Madam Speaker, I just wanted to welcome Councillor Van Vuren to the council very warmly. I wasn't informed that we had new councillors already, but he's very welcome here. And if there are any other new councillors, they are also very welcome in council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, we move the recommendation on page 48. Anyone against? No, then we proceed. The next item is item 21, and the first speaker there is Councillor Solomons.
Goeiemôre almal teenwoordig. Die stad Kaapstad probeer om 'n gevoel van omgee te skep deur die nuwe informele handelsplan. Maar die werklikheid is dat die handelsplan is om die stad te bevoordeel en nie die gemeenskap van Bonteheuwel. Na 20 jaar wil die stad die handelsplan hersien, met verwysing na die verslag, die ekonomiese behoeftes van die gemeenskap oor die jare verander het en moet aangespreek word. As jy so bekommerd is oor die ekonomiese behoeftes van die mense, hoekom nie die handelsbaie opgradeer met al die nodige vereistes en hulpbronne, soos water en badkamergeriewe, tesame met behoorlike sekuriteitsdienste nie? As vryhandelaar.
Councillor?
Yes.
Can we just allow the translator an opportunity to catch up with you?
Okay, moet ek oorbegin?
Nee, you must wait and he will speak.
Okay. Kan ek aangaan?
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether I needed to interpret. I was waiting for the speaker.
Okay, they will interpret from now on. Carry on.
Okay. Tesame met behoorlike sekuriteitsdienste.
Along with proper security
As
services,
vryhandelaars, sonder die regiment van
without the
wetstoepassing
threat of law
en
enforcement.
polisie wat beslag sal hê op 'n
Just hang on a second, please. Wait a minute, please. Wag 'n bietjie.
So consecutive. Okay.
Moet ek eerder oorbegin, mevrou Spreker?
You may start now from where you resumed your conversation, your speech. Thank you.
Okay. Die meeste van die handelaars handel oor 'n naweek in 'n poging om 'n ekstra inkomste te verdien. Juis as gevolg van ekonomiese tye waarin ons leef.
Okay, wait.
So most of the traders are trading over weekends. Trading over weekends to earn extra income.
Isininzi sabantu abathengi.
Okay, this is not going to work. Just hang on a second, please.
Or English, okay.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the speaker.
Sal ons oorbegin?
No, you keep quiet. The causes translation's coming next.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we're going to proceed. You may carry on, Councillor.
Juis as gevolg van die moeilike ekonomiese tye waarin ons leef, en nou het hulle permit nodig om finansiëel kop bo water te hou.
Because of the difficult economic circumstances which we are having at the moment, they need a permit to trade.
Thank you. Carry on.
Okay, duidelik is dit 'n besigheid wat die stad hier bedryf en nie die bediening van mense soos hulle verplig is om te doen nie.
So this is clearly a business that the city is operating here, and it's not a service as it's meant to be.
Carry on.
Wat nie verbasend is nie, is dat hierdie planne op kleurlinggebiede afgedwing word die bywette toegepas in gebiede soos Khayelitsha, Luandle, Langa, waar hulle van al die nodige hulpbronne voorsien word.
What is not surprising is that these bylaws and rules are being enforced in coloured areas and I would like to know whether these things are also enforced in areas such as Khayelitsha, Langa, etc.
Carry on.
Julle logika is pateties en onaanvaarbaar. Die kommentaar van die gemeenskap van die openbare deelnameproses stel duidelik die ongelukkigheid van die gemeenskap en die informele handelaars met die handelsplan.
So the logic of this is unacceptable and it's pathetic, and the community and the informal traders are extremely unhappy and have expressed this.
Carry on.
So NCC verwerp hierdie plan, aangesien ons mandaat as NCC is vir die mense, deur die mense. Baie dankie mevrou Spreker.
So the NCC is rejecting this because our mandate is for the people, through the people.
Thank you very much. Baie dankie. Thank you. We move on to the next speaker, and that is Councillor Mackenzie.
Good morning, Speaker. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Speaker, I don't quite think that the translation was much of a problem, but more just an understanding of the process of how informal traders operate and how they operate more successfully when the city gets involved in creating these informal trading plans, which is done through wide consultation, not just with informal traders, Speaker, but in actual fact with the broader community as well. And so what is alarmingly disturbing for me, Speaker, is that the councillor that has entered into this debate has not been part of one single public participation process. And if she'd read the report, she'd have seen that she'd been invited to it on numerous occasions. But I think more telling, Speaker, is that this item is really just sort of gives a good glimpse into the election strategy of the NCC. They see something good for communities, specifically poor communities. They can't understand that they never came up with it. They then send Laurel and Hardy, Nasmi Jacobs and his other friend, all the way around to these communities to try and find the negatives in it. They even go as far, Speaker, to walk around on the CBD on a Saturday morning before this council meeting, telling traders, Speaker, that the city of Cape Town, through the ward councillor, will be stopping all informal trading on that CBD. So it really just shows us the level of understanding, the level of knowledge, and I'd like to just alert them that lies have short legs, and so they shouldn't get too comfortable in the positions that they are in at the moment. But let's deal with the facts at hand. This item, Speaker, is primarily there to enhance the informal traders of Bonneville. A multi-million rand project has been put in place, implemented and successfully completed, which has seen a complete reconstruction of the Bonneville CBD, which allows for traders now to operate in a safe and economically viable space to ensure that we are closing the gap between poverty and where residents need to be, and we're ensuring that economic activity takes place. In addition to that, we have also just completed a 2.5 million rand CCTV camera installation process, which keeps traders, public, and everyone else making use of this newly developed open space even safer. So, Speaker, without delaying this matter any further, with understanding that the NCC is only but here to pull down and destruct our colored and poorer communities into the future, I move the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 122. All in favor of the recommendation? Thank you. Then the recommendation is carried. If anyone's against it, indicate in the iron box. And we move then on to item 36, which has been withdrawn. Alderman Forst, do you wish to speak to the item before we move on? Alderman Forst? All right, we move on. Your
Speaker?
Yes, Councillor Haynes? I don't see anything in the box.
Just briefly on your point of item 36, on the council, on the speaker's list, it says the item is agreed to. Now you are saying the item is going to be withdrawn. Can we get a full understanding as to why and if indeed it's withdrawn?
So I'm looking for Councillor Alderman Forst to indicate that. I did when I read out the agreed items, I omitted this because I was told it would be withdrawn. Alderman Forst, are you in the meeting?
Yes, I am, Madam Speaker. Can
Okay,
you
would you like, yes, please give clarity.
The policy as it stands is good to go, but there's a decision that the department would like to include or go back to sub-councils and get sub-councils to identify more trading sites. Currently in the schedule, there's 62 mobile trading areas identified. And as a department, we would like to engage sub-councils and other departments to identify more trading sites across the city. We believe that there's further potential to embrace this new business sites, so that when we come to council with a policy as it stands, the schedule with the identified mobile trading sites will then have many more sites included. So the process will now pause in terms of the policy, and we will engage with sub-councils in the next few weeks to identify more sites. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I hope that gives clarity. Then we move on to the next item, which is item 37. Councillor Haynes. We're not going to debate the item because it's been withdrawn.
No, I'm not going to debate. I just want to say I'm glad that you realized that you're bringing half-baked potatoes to the meeting. Thank you for withdrawing it.
All right. You see, sometimes it pays to listen. Item 37, Councillor De Beer.
Madam Speaker, once again, very good morning, the Mayor and colleagues. Madam Speaker, I wish to put on record that there can be no doubt that the Gordons Bay area has shown a huge growth in new residents and visitors from all the points of our world map. Madam Speaker, it must be said that we also have a ward where there is a continued work ethic without playing politics. And indeed, our focus is to give services to our residents, which is well deserved. Madam Speaker, we have to, though, recognize that in the recent week, a huge water crisis and an ongoing flood prospect have shown incidents which we cause a massive challenge in specifically to Ward 100, led by Councillor Stacey. In the past week, it truly showed us that heroes do not all wear capes, but indeed the visible showing of an unbelievable effort by the City of Cape Town's workers and contractors, day in and day out, to create what I can only give you as a miracle to return to normality in supplying such water infrastructure. And for that, I must also thank Councillor and his team for intervention. It is clear that we nearly steered into a massive tragedy, which could be averted if we do more and proper planning. Madam Speaker, I wish to stress that the demand on infrastructure in Gordons Bay is clear. I wish to also say that the increasing water and sanitation problems is escalating, but that the city, through our ward councillor in this Gordons Bay area, is totally doing whatever it can. I wish to ask that the city supports our city councillor, our ward councillor, which we do on a daily basis, with in mind that growth is good, but controlled growth in this area is critical. We have many situations, Madam Speaker, where residents are under the cosh for the lack of basic infrastructure because of the growth. No doubt that the city of Cape Town is an attraction and will remain so. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the call for controlled growth on all matters of infrastructure is hereby put on record. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stacey.
Good morning, Speaker, Mayor, colleagues in the media. The Gordons Bay Local Spatial Development Fund with the relevant officials back in January 2023 to revive the 2017 project. Indeed, I was initially inspired by the Strand CBD Spatial Development Framework initiated by Councillor Carl Pint back in 2022. It was subsequently sent to Sub-Council for discussion and approval to give the officials the mandate to initiate the public participation, which took place in earnest. The GB Special Development had 2 community town hall workshops as well as 2 open days in which residents in all stages of the process could offer their comments and suggestions. The area is one of the biggest parcels of vacant and undeveloped land within the city's borders. It has a lot of development potential and includes Vlakteplaas, where the city will develop housing as well as Furlands. Apart from the development pressures stemming from the population growth, the intended LSDF must also take into account the upgrade of the Solaris Pass River Corridor and SANRAL's intentions to realign the section of the N2 freeway that borders the area. Throughout this process, many concerns were noted about the lack of infrastructure in the particular area and the strains on the infrastructure in the already settled parts of the ward. However, it is very important and useful as those discussions are, they should be directed towards the IDP submissions when they come about. The IDP concerns that of the city's infrastructure and service delivery needs, whereas an LSDF is merely a guideline as to how a community or space should develop in the future when such developments or needs come about. However, despite these perceptions, DA-led governments always have been and always will be resilient and future planning orientated. Here's just a snippet of what is being done in this ward since 2021 alone. Vlakteplaas and Rusthof Info housing projects, as mentioned, Harmony Flats Education Centre at the cost of 43 million rand, Fleur Park Junior Rehabilitation projects to the tune of 50 million rand. The DA-led Western Cape government is also soon going to start with the widening and upgrading of the Solaris Road, which is a main thoroughfare in the ward. The 2 biggest projects which are currently underway, and as mentioned by Councillor De Beer, to address the concerns that he's mentioned, will have a massive impact and benefit for the residents of the ward, are the Solaris River upgrade, which is a project with a cost of an impressive over 300 million rand, which will future-proof our ward for flood prevention in our low-lying areas and flood-prone area, which will then prevent millions of rands of damage in the future and decades to come. Lastly, the Gordons Bay Sewer Rising Main project, which is a 7.8 kilometer, 700 millimeter diameter rising main, which also includes a new regional sewer pump station, is underway. Construction of this project has already started, and this project is a whopping 160 million rand investment by the city to future-proof all sewage needs within the ward and will be more than enough capacity to handle any future developments in the Gordons Bay Local Spatial Development Framework area. As such, Madam Speaker, this item speaks for itself and shows the DA difference, so I move the item. Thank you.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 312. All in favour of the recommendation? Any against, please log in the iron box. Thank you. That moves us to the next item, which is item 47. And the first speaker on that item is Councillor Malgas.
Good morning all, can you hear me?
Yes, continue.
Thank you very much. Good day all. Madam Speaker, my item is 47 today. Today, Madam Speaker, is all about fairness and doing the right thing for all, the affluent and the poor, as well as rich areas and poor areas. The item is about the lease of land owned by the city by Clifton Surf Lifesaving Club. It is measured at 46 square meter with a monthly payment fee of 750. The problem with this lease, Madam Speaker, is that it is located in an affluent area. In addition, I acknowledge that this life-saving club is a service for the public and a day only renting. But Madam Speaker, we have a case where someone is leasing in one of the poorest communities in Mitchells Plain, known as the farm. The reality is that said person is actually paying more rent than the rent accumulated at the life-saving club. Both of these properties exist for the benefit of 2 different communities, but the location identified in Mitchells Plain is bearing the brunt due to higher cost, Madam Speaker. This person started a recycling business in the farm in Mitchells Plain. Her plan was to open this recycling business with one thing in mind, providing work opportunities for the unemployed in the area. The difference between the 2 persons leasing from the city is that the one renting the farm is paying 5,500 per month for 100 square meters, whereas the one renting in Clifton paying less than the one renting the farm in Mitchells Plain, a difference of 4,000 rand, Madam Speaker. That's another salary and another job opportunity as the city. We need to take people like this lady by the hand and hold the walk with them. Madam Speaker, in closing, we as the city must practice what we preach. The city works for you. That's very much possible, Mr. Speaker, if only we do what is requested from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Joel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a boat shed, really a mere boat shed, just a sliver of land, as the councillor has indicated, behind a building that has never been used, never been seen at all. And now this unused empty space of 46 square meters has a role to play in supporting the amazing men and women of the Clifton Lifesavers Club. And I can't believe the ANC would not be supportive of this going ahead. The club reports at the end of their last season that their volunteers donated 5,360 life-saving hours in keeping beach visitors safe. They conducted 31 rescue operations and assisted in 71 medical cases. In a comment on this report on social media, Beverly Mahotsi said, "Well done to the whole team for the wonderful work you do to keep our beaches and our children safe." Yes, Speaker, the lifesavers don't look at race or ethnicity or income bracket. They look at a person in need of help on the beach, and they do everything they can to make a positive difference and save a life. And it's not even on the beaches, mind you. Recently, a lifesaver conducted CPR to save an elderly man at King Shaka Airport. Speaker, I'm almost at a loss for words as to how anybody would object to the city following its clearly laid out policies and tariff structures and processes and supporting these heroic efforts by volunteers. These incredible volunteers don't sit back and harp on about race and spend days or months striving to divide community and build hate. No, they are a diverse group of Cape Townians who sacrifice hours and weekends in service to many. Perhaps the NCC can learn a bit about community building and honest, healthy, positive community impact. The NCC had an opportunity to object and to even provide an alternative proposal for this little alley of land, but of course following a process and giving meaningful input does not support their social media narrative, but rather they wait for a moment when they can get their soundbite to share, proudly showing off their manufactured rage and hate. Perhaps it's time then that the NCC looks at the tariff structures involved, which the city is clearly following, and the difference between the NGO and commercial use of the space. Speaker, this is a lease application that has gone through all the right and documented processes over quite a lengthy period of time. It has followed due process and is in line with the city's tariff structure. I have no hesitation in asking this council to support the application, and I so move the item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The item, the recommendation is on page 124. Can we move the recommendation? Just for clarity, Councillor Haynes, it did sound like the ANC, but in actual fact, it was the NCC that she spoke to. Item 50, the first speaker on item 50 is Councillor Davids. Davids, if you're not available, then we'll move on.
Morning, I'm here.
Are you there? Thank you. Carry on.
Greetings to all and thanks for the opportunity, Colored Congress. We observed the proposal for the renaming of the Phoenix Station to Freedom Station. In a perfect world, we could understand and maybe even celebrate such a change. That is, if it is the will of the people. However, in this case, we should be mindful of the fact that this very same My City is the talk of the town for all the wrong reasons. On the route between Atlantis, Milnerton, which include Phoenix and Cape Town, most of these buses or services don't meet the relevant requirements to transport people. This range from faulty doors, leakings during winter and rainy days, to even combustion gases in the bus, which contributes to terrible traveling experiences in a so-called world-class city. During the last 2 months, many buses broke down between Atlantis, Melkbos, and the city, and it seems complaints from commuters falls on deaf ears. In the 80s and early 90s, our people traveled in trains with broken doors, and in some cases, no windows was in the train carriages. This current situation with the My City reminds me of the era where our people were seen and treated as third-class citizens, and their monies are the only commodity the government cared about. We put great efforts in changing names but seem not to care about the services, the very sector that does not deliver satisfactory services to our people. Or do you want to take us back to the 80s and 90s? As the NCC, we appeal that rather focus your energies in making sure that our people travel safe and rectify all wrongs and discrepancies of the MyCity services for a better community experience than changing names that will in any case do nothing for the traveling experience and or quality for their money. And in closing, as a collective, we don't support the motion if it does not speak to replacing broken and worn out buses or better the traveling experience of the Cape Townians as a whole. And I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Bernardi.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, the item before us, the naming and the renaming of the Phoenix MyCity station, is but the first step in this project to reinstate a brand new state-of-the-art bus station and route, primarily for the residents of Joe Slovo Park and Phoenix. Honourable Speaker, following the vandalism and destruction of this station a few years ago, the route was discontinued, inconveniencing thousands of commuters. Speaker, the name Freedom Station is most appropriate, as once complete, this MyCity route will connect thousands of residents from Joe Slovo Park, Phoenix and the surrounding business community to destinations around the city. This will not only provide freedom of movement, but will make a significant contribution to the access of employment opportunities and providing residents with an increased opportunity to attain economic freedom. Honourable Speaker, economic freedom is the ultimate freedom. I move that we support the renaming of the Phoenix MyCity station to Freedom Station. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. The recommendation is on page 279. Can we move the recommendation? Anyone against, please indicate in the box. Councillor Quintus, the Mayor requests you to respond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in this instance, we are in the process of rolling out, as the full council knows, a mega project of the Phase 2A extension. So we can confirm that there have been some regrettable instances regarding the MyCity in the past, largely along the most frequent used routes as well, being both the N2 Express and the Atlantis route. What is of great interest, or should be of great interest to the councillor, is the safe knowledge, as per the announcement in council, I think 2 council sessions ago, Madam Speaker, that we are in the process of procuring our first tranche of fleet for the MyCity Phase 2 rollout, and we have in fact allocated several of those Eurodiesel 6 as well as electric buses to supplement and add to our fleet servicing those 2 routes, being N2 Express, Mitchell's Plain and Kailicha, and the Atlantis route, with larger brand new buses, and that is going to be subject to the processes of the BAC. But as we roll out the first tranche of new buses, we'll see a far improved service with adequate buses, and many of them brand new, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. There's been no indication of anyone opposed to this item, so the item is carried. We move on to item 53, and the first speaker there is Councillor Mokung. 51? Oh, 51, sorry. Councillor, the first speaker on item 51 is Councillor De Vos.
Hi, good morning. Goeiemôre. Ek wou baie graag my verslag gedoen het in Afrikaans, maar ek wil nou nie klink soos Laurel en Hardy nie. Good morning, Speaker, and to the members of the House. I want to take the moment to commend Councillor Pophine for your outstanding dedication and hard work. Your efforts have made a significant impact, and your commitment to our community is truly remarkable. Thank you for all that you do. But today, the ACDB comes before you to address one of our community's most pressing challenges, the housing backlog. This issue demands our collective effective solutions and unwavering commitments to ensure that every individual and family has access to safe, affordable and dignified housing. We acknowledge the complex nature of the housing backlog, influenced by factors such as rapid urbanization, economic constraints, administrative barriers and social dynamics. However, we view these challenges not as obstacles but as opportunities for meaningful change. Guided by the National Housing Code, the ACDP proposed streamlining administrative processes, enhancing coordination among stakeholders, securing increased funding, and implementing transparent and accountable governance practices. These measures are essential to accelerate housing development projects and ensure fair and equitable distribution of housing opportunities. Community engagement is paramount. The ACDP advocates for the active involvement of residents, listening to their concerns and incorporating their feedback into housing projects. Building trust and fostering partnership are a key principle in our approach. Quality building practices and adherence to high construction standards are non-negotiable. We must ensure that our homes we provide meet not only current needs but also serve future generations. In rectifying past injustice faced by individuals on waiting lists, the ACDP prioritizes fair and transparent processes, free from corruption and favorism. Every individual and family deserves equal access to safe and dignified housing. The ACDP remains steadfast in the commitment to providing housing solutions with integrity and accountability. We call for the firm measures to prevent malpractice and abuse within the housing sector, upholding principles of justice and compassion. And to my colleagues who always like to say, did I read the report? Yes, indeed, we have read the report. The problem is that we should apply what we say. The policy sounds impressive on paper, but the lack of practical implementation leaves much to be desired. It's not enough to simply talk about solutions. We must be committed to putting these words into action, assuring that the promises made are promises kept. Together with the city government, the ACDP is dedicated to building a city where housing equity is a reality for all. Our action reflects our values, our fairness, honesty, and empathy as we work towards a better future for every member of our community. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and to future. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Kutswana. Councillor Haynes, it appears that there's difficulty with Councillor Kutswana getting access to the platform. So we're going to move on unless you have a solution.
Can you quickly give me half a second to just quickly call him, Speaker?
Yeah. Should we proceed?
Proceed, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Popham.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. I'm grateful to the words and the comments from Councillor De Vos, who is also a senior member of the Human Settlements Portfolio Committee, and particularly for a constructive approach as we navigate the sector which has come under huge stress. And let me thank, in terms of the report, for the Municipal Public Accounts Committee for their rigor in holding the department to account. I think it's important to note, while the department has made great strides, and we've illustrated that in the report in terms of what interventions we've undertaken in order to succeed, there has been a huge vacuum that has caused the department to struggle. And so it is important that we note and understand the terrain that we have operated within, Madam Speaker. We've faced 540 million rand in budget cuts from the equitable share, 70 million rand cut from the USDG grant, 37 million rand cut from the ISUPG grant. This is the life and breadth of the human settlements portfolio, because we are largely funded through grant funding, Madam Speaker. I think it's also important to understand the conditions that we are faced under when trying to deliver within grant frameworks. The ISUPG grant does not allow for backyard services installation, causing the institution under the leadership of Jordania Lewis to find alternative funding mechanisms to service the poorest of the poor. The national minister, and hopefully we'll see some changes after Friday, does not want to devolve emergency housing grants, causing families and individuals to lose their fire kits after disaster, sometimes waiting up until a year to receive them. There is a refusal to allow CRU public housing as well as hostel upgrades from our HSDG grant. These are frameworks that are placed before my table, and we are still forced to deliver in this tough space. And deliver we have, Madam Speaker. 1,500 houses handed over in this financial year alone, which ends in the next 2 weeks. Up until now, 7 parcels of state-owned, city-owned land released for social housing, accounting for more than 4,000 social housing units being developed. And might I add, 4,000, which was the same amount delivered in the last 10 years administration. A real victory for Mayor Jordania Lewis in terms of his electoral commitments made to the public during the local government election. 800 service sites for informal settlements, fully serviced with water, sanitation, and electrical points delivered for the most vulnerable in this financial year. And more than 2,000 individuals who have been lifelong tenants, a policy which is proudly paraded by my colleagues in the economic freedom fighters, lifelong tenants of the state now becoming homeowners in the city of Cape Town, not paying a rental, but able to have the security of tenureship. I also want to say that we've seen great strides in the last 9 months, and I'm very proud of since my appointment. We've relaunched the Google Layer 2 infill housing project, which has been defunct and derelict. We've concluded the Belleville infill housing project, and as a city, we have been in court fighting for residents who have had their opportunities taken away from them. We are busy concluding on the Salaris Pass housing project. We are getting ready to hand over in the first phase of the Makassa housing project in this city, and something that doesn't get spoken about enough. The majority of those occupying public housing are paying a rental between 90 Rand and 120 Rand. Where in South Africa? Where in the world? This is the state of human settlements in our city, the side that no one wants to speak about. Yes, there's difficulty, but we are showing up for the poorest of the poor. We are making sure that residents in this city knows that even though it's difficult, even though it's not perfect, there is a government that is approachable, that is present, that is accessible to you, and we are making services available to our residents and the majority of them. And I think one that is being waited for with bated breath, the Delft Access Symphony Housing Project, which is currently in the bid award phase. And I'm looking forward to seeing us relaunch this anticipated project with the community, ensuring that those criminals, and I don't want to call them what is being done in the public as construction mafia, they are criminals that want to steal from the poor, from the most vulnerable. We are standing up to them. We are bringing communities and stakeholders together, and we are ensuring that we continue delivering to all residents. And so in welcoming the comments made by Councillor De Vos, I want to share with her, with your constructive support, we are now finalizing the appointment of a social facilitation unit that is going to help us bridge the gap between the city and communities where we see division. I'm also have commissioned the review of our housing database to ensure that we have a more professional and protected service. And so, Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I want to support the report and thank the Impact Committee for their support.
All right. The recommendation is on page 309. All in favor of the recommendation? Thank you. The recommendation is carried. We move on then to item 53. And the first speaker here is Councillor Cupido. What? 53.
Thank you, Speaker. As the Good Movement, we welcome the reduction of sub-councils within the City of Cape Town. As Good, we further hope that this reduction is accepted by the public and hope that the public will call for even further reductions, or that the public will agree with us that all sub-councils must be completely abolished within the City of Cape Town. Speaker, as the report given at the multi-party meeting with regards to this item, you have informed us that the city could save in the excess of 7 million rand per annum. Speaker, should the public not fully agree that it must be completely abolished, could note that should we even consider clustering 9 wards into one sub-council, we could, for instance, save 70 million per annum, which will leave us with at least 10 sub-councils till the complete abolishment. Speaker, as good, we note the following in this current process to indicate why we deem the sub-councils are useless and do not serve the community's best interest and as bringing council closer to the people. Speaker, as the city, we are currently paying chairpersons almost equivalent money to make members, yet according to the systems of delegations, the chairperson's delegated authority is to make media statements on behalf of the sub-council on all matters over which the sub-council has authority in compliance with the city media policies. This alone should be the responsibility of the head of the department responsible for the matter, or, in the case of an effective sub-council, the sub-council manager. Speaker, but this does not stop here. One of the delegated authorities of the sub-council is to recommend to the executive mayor for submission to the council the needs of the city in any functional matter affecting the sub-council area. Speaker, this would be a perfect example of bringing the city closer to the people, but for example, in sub-council 15, and at least 5 others, an item surfaced where the city now will embark on assisting private homeowners to build rental units to address the housing backlog, while sub-council 15, where I serve, did not agree with the item, and where other good councillors serve, they confirmed that the item were not agreed to this council and approved by the Dear Caucus as this council, even when their own members at the sub-council level did not agree. The sub-council now may only request reports from the line functionaries on activities planned to be executed within the sub-council area. Where difficulties exist, may request executive directors or officials designated by the relevant executive director to appear before the sub-council to assist the sub-council in the performance of its functions, but only if approved by the city manager. Other delegations, such as liquor licenses, are functions that councillors and the relevant portfolios could deal with. As for public participation, here today, again, it is proven according to the timeline presented to the multi-party meeting. The following steps after today indicates the model for sub-council boundaries adverts is placed in all local community newspapers. Here the city already has a department that manages the public participation process. If properly managed, we need no sub-councils. As good, we do not see the need that the taxpayers must pay for a chairperson who unfortunately could not make it as a portfolio chairperson or a member of the mayoral committee. If the city is indeed serious of saving money so that we can better serve the communities across the city where raw sewage is running down our streets, where street lights are not working, or where water unnecessarily cut from residents, this money could better assist and even help in having the fixed levies that places a heavy burden on our residents could be removed. Speaker, as good, we wish to table the comment presented to you today as part of the comments for the public participation process and wish to state that while we accept the process today, we further call for the complete abolishment of sub-councils within the city of Cape Town. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and good afternoon to those who have joined after the meeting started and we did not greet. Speaker, on this item, I'm saying, Speaker, as the ANC, it's unfortunate that we were forced into a discussion on this process during a very busy time of the national and provincial government, the national and provincial elections. We were forced to have our concentration split into having a proper engagement on the item, and we were deprived of engaging fully on the item. Whilst we are happy to see, Speaker, that we are somehow in your presentation or recommendations reverting back to initial proposals that was put on the table by the ANC, and we can almost say now here we told you so. That was our recommendations. You rejected it because you wanted to do things your way. Now we are happy to see, Speaker, that we are reverting back to what the ANC initially in 2021 suggested as sub-councils. We also want to say, Speaker, we would not want to agree that clustering more than 5-6 wards in a sub-council is going to be beneficial to our constituency. That is going to be worse on the taxpayer or the ratepayer in terms of service delivery, having 9 wards in a sub-council. That we can also not support. But having said all this, Madam Speaker, we would also want, I've not seen the letter that has been written to the Demarcation Board. Whilst the report says the Demarcation Board has not responded, I think we are, as leadership in this caucus who has been part of the discussions, we would want to have an eye on that letter so that we can see indeed the correspondence have gone out to the Demarcation Board. Having said all this, Madam Speaker, we would want to request that this item, I know that this item today is here to go out for public participation, but as an ANC we are requesting for the matter to be referred back and brought back after the July recess so that we can then get ourselves time to further engage and then come back to council. Understanding fully that it's only a public participation, your document already is saying that the ANC is agreeing, which is a bit premature. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Tandela. Councillor Tandela, are you available? Councillor Dembuza, is your councillor available? Or yes?
I am available, Speaker.
There you are.
Am I
Carry
audible,
on.
Speaker?
Yes, you're audible now. Carry on.
No, thank you very much, Speaker. I hope I've got my minutes increased. Good afternoon to yourself, Speaker, and afternoon to all the councillors. Speaker, the Economic Freedom Fighters wishes to thank the people of City of Cape Town who came out in numbers and casted their vote for the only dependable vehicle towards economic freedom. The Economic Freedom Fighters increased its votes in the City of Cape Town by more than 25,000 votes since the last national and provincial elections. This signifies the increase trust that the people of Cape Town have towards the EFF. We wish yet again to register that many residents of Cape Town were robbed their democratic rights to vote, as election results were rigged across the Western Cape, and the EFF, along several opposition parties, were robbed of the true reflection of voter share. To those who stole the land of our forefathers through violent means, deep atrocities, the systematic exclusion of apartheid, are now at the forefront of cheating democratic process and the will of the people in order to maintain illegitimate rule. We are here to assert that the EFF will never give up on the fight to remove the racist Democratic Alliance, which continues to piss on the faces of the poor. We send our heartfelt condolences to the families of the 4 people, including 3 children killed in the mass shooting in Khayelitsha, when the gunmen opened fire in a barber shop this past week. This is one of a series of the mass shooting in Cape Town Township, which are aided by the Democratic Alliance's lack of service delivery and unwillingness to combat crime in the area that are not white dominant. Speaker, you continue to you continue to preside over municipalities.
Councillor Tandela, if you just hang on a second, there's a point of order. Mr. Mayor.
Madam Speaker, the councillor's language is unacceptable. And is clearly unwarranted and not allowed by the rules. It's not honourable language in this in our council, and I would ask that he either withdraw that or be prevented from speaking.
What was withdraw, Mayor?
I'm not repeating your filthy language.
Unfortunately, Mayor, if you're not point out, I will withdraw.
Councillor, you will not withdraw. No, if you're not going to withdraw the language, we'll move on. Thank you.
What must I withdraw? Be specific. You're not saying what I should withdraw. I've said a lot of words.
Thank you.
I've said a lot of things, Speaker. You need to pinpoint exactly what you're talking about.
not going to repeat what you said. It's offensive, and thank you. Councillor Alderman Matthew Kempthorne.
Thank you, Speaker. This item is to go to public participation, so I'll reserve most of my comments for that process. Just to Councillor Haynes, please use this period to comment on or give more proposals. I'm very happy to engage with you. Councillor Cupido, I fundamentally disagree with everything you said, except one thing. Sub-councils are bringing the city closer to its residents. That I agree with. And just on the last point, Speaker, the Japanese have a wonderful term called kaizen, which roughly translates means continuous improvement. And that's what this administration is doing all the time to improve our services to our residents. I therefore move this item. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the recommendation, councillors, on pages 5 to 7. Anyone against the recommendation?
Speaker.
Councillor, please write in the. I can't say that. I can't indicate who that was.
It's me, Councillor Haynes.
Councillor Haynes, your mouth's full, but okay. Thank you.
My apologies, Speaker. My request for a copy of the letter has not been responded to. If Councillor Kempton or the MM's office could please send it to my office.
Thank you. That we'll deal with
it. And for now, we're noting the item.
Thank you. We'll deal with that separately. Thank you. Then the item is carried. We move on then, councillors. Before we move on to the next item, I want you to please watch your email inboxes, as the administration will now circulate an encrypted document relating to the item discussed later in the closed session, and you will also receive a password via SMS. So kindly look out for that. Councillors, we move on to item 54, and the recommendations on page 2021, and the speakers to this item are Councillor Fasaki.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the changes of the committee is reflected in item C54 of the agenda. I would, however, bring to your attention that former Councillor Pumla Machati, whose name reflects in the report, but will not fill the seat in urban waste management as she has resigned since. But further changes that does not reflect on the agenda is Councillor Carl Bowden, who is to be added to the second 80 Equality in Wetlands, Waterways and the Coastal Environment Committee. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. That is noted. Can we then move? Councillor, this is Councillor Dambuza. Councillor Dambuza, if you've got a point of order, that's fine. Otherwise, we're moving on. I'm not going back to the item that we've already discussed. We move then on to item 58, 55. The question, sorry. Councillor Thompson, you have one question. Your question appears on page 1 to 4 with the Mayor's response on 5 to 10. Do you have any follow-up questions? Councillor Thompson? She can't unmute. Okay. There you go.
Madam Speaker.
There you go, yes.
No follow-up question.
No follow-up question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next one is item 56? 58. Right, item 58. This is the Cape Town Water Outlook, and the first speaker there is Councillor Bungani.
Madam Speaker, good day.
Good day, carry on.
The ACDP agrees that Access to clean water and sanitation services is essential for healthy population and growing economy for survival. In 2018, Cape Town faced a severe water crisis with dams reaching critical low level, prompting strict water usage limits to 50 liters per day. The City of Cape Town reacted swiftly through quick planning and budgeting, leading to the implementation of the water workable plan to boost water supply. Learning from the crisis, City of Cape Town has turned emergency measures into permanent solution, exemplified by the foreign new water scheme plant, which we believe it will calm the concerns of our residents. However, Speaker, the ACDP is still concerned that the city outdated water infrastructure will lead to another day zero for Cape Townians. While we appreciate that there is a significant pipe replacement program, we need this at a faster pace. Experts say that the city is not keeping up with the changing nature of sewage that contains new chemical compounds. While some new upgrades have been begun, not all communities even have waterborne sewage. Inadequate sanitation services to informal settlement leads to regular raw sewage contamination. Vandalism of treatment plants and theft of cables deteriorating water quality in river catchment areas is a serious concern. Therefore, ACDP urges more attention to securing infrastructure as the theft of water and sanitation equipment resulting in sewer spillages and pollution of waterways. We must do more to conserve these precious resources. ACDP fully support this report. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Majuza.
Yes, Speaker. I thought, Chief, you did share that we will take the recommendations set out on the page. We want to speak.
Thank you very much. Are you wishing to add anything, or do we move on? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Alderman Nielsen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank Councillor Magumgani for his comments there. I mean, he laid out what this water update gives to us. I think the key issue is that we did set the target after the drought in 2018 that we would increase our water supply by 300 megalitres a day by the year 2030. And we've put into place a whole range of projects that are aimed towards achieving that outcome. And all of those projects are running. They're all running in parallel. They have different time frames to get to solution. The trouble is that they are very, very capital intensive. And we've had to increase our capital budget very, very significantly in order to be able to implement this program. And that has become the limiting factor on how fast we can do it. But I think at this stage, we are still foreseeing being able to achieve that outcome of 300 megalitres a day additional supply by 2030, and continue to put pressure on the administration to achieve those targets. I think that the other issue which he raised around sewage is also very true. There are many issues in terms of sewage treatment and much attention that is required there. But again, we have in place a very significant program of upgrading our sewage, our water treatment plants. We are achieving quite good success in terms of implementation. At Zandvliet, we are close to completion there. At Potsdam, there's a very significant progress. If you drive past there, you'll see all the construction underway of a 5 billion rand program to achieve that. But also not neglecting the sewer distribution system and upgrading of pump stations. Again, very significant investment taking place. And it is our absolute intention to achieve both outcomes, that there is adequate water supply, that when the next drought comes, that we do not want to see that we have to have a strong restriction of water supply as we had in the 2017-18 drought, that we will be able to cope better with the next drought, and also that the extent of sewage spills continues to decline, but we are going to also need the cooperation of the public, because something like 75% of problems that we have with sewage are not amenable to engineering solutions. They require people to stop putting things in our sewers that shouldn't be going into our sewers, and vandalism and all the other issues that contribute to us being having this problem of sewage spills. So, Madam Speaker, I think the report lays out in very clear detail exactly what progress has been made, highlights the risks that are there, which we're paying attention to, and we keep our eye on the ball to achieve that outcome by the year 2030. Thank you.
Thank you. This item is for noting. So then, councillors, that concludes the open meeting. Before we move to the confidential agenda, can the officials ensure that the YouTube link is terminated? And can I also request that all officials exclude themselves